Ay, ay, ay. All right, and we're back. All right. Hopefully, shouldn't be any issues with this. All right. Apologies. All right, so let's go ahead and just dive right in, since I've already wasted enough time. But before we dive into the text, I think it would be prudent to perhaps read a little bit about the Heptameron from the Grimoire Encyclopedia. So that way those who don't know, those who aren't familiar with the text, will be more familiar and won't be going into this blind. So I think it's 153, I think. 156. Page 156 from the Grimoire Encyclopedia gives us a nice little primer on the magical elements of Peter Abano, or the Heptameron. So I think we should take just a quick read over that so we get a nice little background, and then we can go ahead and dive right in. What's up, Soil Rug? Be sure to like the live so we can get this out to more people. Thank you all for being here. All right. So the Heptameron. It's dated to 1559. So this is a 16th century text, 1559. Its languages are Latin, French, English, German, Italian, and surprisingly Welsh. Right? We don't, at least I don't come across a lot of grimoires from Wales and in the Welsh language. But there it is. It's influenced by quite a few other texts, such as De Quatuor Annalies, the Astromagia, the Elucidation of Necromancy, which we're going to be reading from very shortly, the Sworn Book of Honorius, the Sefer Raziel, the Key of Solomon, and the Liber Semiphoras. Its provenance, right? So this is who it was written by, its importance, and all that other stuff. It's attributed to Peter of Abano, who lived from 1250 to 1316, probably due to its development from the elucidation of necromancy. Published in Agrippa's fourth book of occult philosophy, which also includes the Arbitel, in 1559. So over 200 years later, it would have been published from when it was supposedly originally written. It was published in French in 1565, followed by German 2 years later in 1567. It was then translated from Latin into English almost 100 years later by Robert Turner in 1655, and the Welsh edition is the latest edition, coming in in 1830. And then there's a bunch of manuscripts. I'm not really going to read those, but there's quite a bit of manuscripts if you're interested in reading the original copies, from like museums and stuff like that, private collections. So yeah, does it contain a circle? The answer is yes. The tools that are used are the earthen vessel for fire, the pentacle, the robe, and the sword. So in that way, it's a practical grimoire. There's quite a few spirits here. Not going to go through, all of them, or really any of them, since we'll be reading about them shortly. But there's an A through Z list here. Several dozen spirits are listed. And then just a quick 2 paragraphs here, and then we'll jump right into the text. It says that the Heptameron is one of the key grimoire texts, whose influence is found in many subsequent works. It provides a concise system of planetary angel magic, influenced by earlier works and coalesced into a very workable system. The authorship by Peter of Abano has been disputed, but with the elucidation of necromancy text attributed to him, and given the Heptameron is a development of this work, the attribution is understandable. The Heptameron takes material from the former work and reorganizes it into a more coherent format, and also sanitizes the aerial spirits into angels. And then it just really just goes over the chapters. Since we're going to get into the chapters, I don't think I really need to read that. And if you want to dive deeper into the Heptameron, you can get a copy of the Elucidation of Necromancy, which we'll be reading from shortly. You can take a look at Agrippa's fourth book, or pseudo Agrippa's fourth book of occult philosophy. You can take a look at Joseph Silasiewski's Ceremonial Magic and the Power of Evocation. Yep, that's the elucidation right there. And just another version of the fourth book, Stephen Skinner's version versus Donald Tyson's version. So that's a little bit about the Heptameron. What's up, Venom? That's a little bit about the Heptameron. So that should give you guys a nice little prep work there. And we'll go ahead and we will dive right in. So welcome, everybody. Welcome. Be sure to like the live so we can get this out to more people. Share the live so we can get this out to more people. And yeah, let's go ahead and dive right in. So did you want to go ahead and get her started, or do you want me to go ahead and get the ball rolling here?
I'll go ahead and get it started with the first chapter.
Before you start, can you see how many people are in your live stream? I can't, for some reason, I don't see a number at the top of my screen.
Yeah, I can. It's not a lot, but yeah, I can. Sometimes I can't see it either. I don't know why.
Yeah, it just started like a couple of days ago. It was like that for like the first 5 minutes, then it appeared. But now I don't know. It's been a few minutes and it's not there. But anyway, all right. Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, so Heptameron, or the Elements of Magic, by Peter of Abano, philosopher. In the previous book, which is the fourth book of Agrippa, quite enough has been said about magical ceremonies and initiations. However, because he seems to have written for those who are learned and already advanced in this art, and doesn't discuss the specifics of ceremonies, but speaks rather only generally, the plan has been to add the elements of magic of Peter of Abano, so that those who are inexperienced and so far have not tasted magical superstitions may have a plan available that they might be able to exercise themselves. Indeed, they will see in this booklet a specific introduction to magical vanity, even as though they are actually present, observing the distinct functions of the spirits, how they should be drawn into conversation, and what should be done, and at which hour and day, and what should be read as if copied syllable by syllable. On the whole, they will possess the beginnings of all magical deceptions in this booklet, which is truly a step towards magical operations. But because the greatest strength is granted to circles, indeed they are the best defense, keeping one safe from evil spirits while working, we will begin by discussing the arrangement of the circle. Did we just want to read the short, take turns just reading the short little paragraphs, or?
Yeah. I'll go ahead and get started. Now, do you also want us to read the Latin too, or just the English?
I don't know about reading the Latin.
Okay, good. All right, cool. All right. Yeah, I didn't want to go through all that. All right. So, concerning the circle and its composition, you should understand, therefore, that the design of the circles is not always the same, but must be altered according to the reckoning of the spirits being called forth, the places, season, day, and hour. So, as you can see, Peter of Abano, or at least the text here, takes into account a lot of planetary and zodiacal aspects when setting up the magic circle, right? It changes based on the day, the season, the hour, and the place. For in setting up a circle, it is necessary to take into account at which season of the year, on which day of the week, and at which hour you plan to construct the circle. Also, which spirits you wish to call, what their celestial body is, and which region they preside, and what functions they may have. So this plays into my theory of it doesn't make much sense for people to try to use, say, for example, Chinese magical methods to evoke Aztec spirits, right? Those spirits are most likely not part of the same sort of astrological system, right? And all of this, no matter where the magic comes from, it's all a derivative of shamanism, which is a derivative of zodiacal veneration and worship. So they all come from the same perennial sort of foundation. And this would seem to agree with that sort of line of thinking. It goes on to state, make therefore 3 circles, 9 feet wide, and each should be 1 palm width apart. And in the middle of the first circle, write the name to the hour, or probably the name of the hour, should probably say, in which you perform the work. Second, the name of the angel of the hour. Third, the nomen angeli. And I'm not reading that. It's a bunch of Latin here. All this, the rest of this is all Latin. I'm not reading that. This is also Latin. I don't think we're going to be reading that either. So we'll go ahead and just skip down to the spirit list here. Does yours have the Latin for these 2 paragraphs, or is yours English?
It gives it in English.
Oh, okay. Then did you want to finish it? Because mine stops with the English where it says the name of the angel of the hour, the third, the nomen. Well, hold on. Maybe I should just use another version. Give me 1 second. I'll just use another version. I'll use this version. Let's see. Let there be a hand apart, and then, okay, here we go. Write the name of the hour wherein you do the work. In the second place, write the name of the angel of the hour. In the third place, the sigil of the angel of the hour. Fourthly, the name of the angel that ruleth that day wherein you do the work, and the names of his ministers. In the fifth place, the name of the present time. Sixthly, the name of the spirits ruling in that part of time, and their presidents. So you can see how, mixing the traditions or the pantheons and such like that generally wouldn't work. Here, let me zoom in a little better for you guys. Oh, I probably won't be able to catch it all. All right, hopefully that's enough for you guys to follow along. I can't catch it all since I can't turn the phone landscape, but hopefully that's enough for you guys to follow along. Seventhly, the name of the head of the sign or the zodiac ruling in that part of time where you work. Eighthly, the name of the earth according to that part of time wherein you work. Ninthly, and for the completing of the middle circle, write the name of the sun and of the moon according to the said rule of time. For as the time is changed, so are the names to be altered. Right? So what that means is, let me give planetary hour examples. Even though there's planetary days and planetary hours, right? Those angels or those spirits change for each hour, right? And so during that change, you wouldn't use the same circles, right? So that's what that's saying. And in the outermost circle, let there be drawn in the 4 angles the name of the presidential angels of the air. This is different than the elemental spirits of the air. That day wherein you would do the work, to wit, the name of the king and his 3 ministers. Without the circle, or outside the circle, in the 4 angles, let pentagons be made. In the inner circle, let there be written 4 divine names with crosses interposed in the middle. We should be very familiar with that. I've shown you guys William Kiesel's magic circles in the Grimoire tradition numerous times. We've went over numerous circles. We should be very familiar with the crosses that are in the circle, but we'll also see it soon anyway. To wit, towards the east, let there be written Alpha. Towards the west, let there be written Omega. And let the cross divide in the middle of the circle. When the cross is thus finished, there you go. According to the circle, according to the rule now before written, you shall proceed. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and continue, or are there any questions you want to answer in the chat?
No. Pretty much said it straightforward. Like as I was showing right here, and this is an example of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just three concentric circles, just like it said. Outside is the aerial spirits, and then the inside, then you have hours of names of hours, names of angels, names of the angels ruling those hours, names of the sun, moon, had a zodiac sign, and then divine names in the middle. And this book gives all of these in tables that you will be able to look up yourself.
Yes.
Um, and
Um,
you'll also see this. So, for instance, you see these same types of circles given in the Goetia of Dr. Rudd. So pretty much the Goetia of Dr. Rudd is pretty much like the 72 spirits catalog added to like the Heptameron ritual formula. And then you'll also see the same type of these circles in the form of pentacles in the veritable key of Solomon. So this actual formula for circles right here is you see it a lot throughout the grimoire corpus of the Solomonic tradition, but they're not always in circles. They're often used as pentacles as well.
Indeed. Indeed. Sounds super complicated. I mean, so it can get complicated if you plan on contacting, the majority of these spirits, right? You'll have a lot of circles. Well, wait a second. Doesn't the text require you to like draw the circle on the ground, like not on like canvas or tarp or something? It should be on the ground.
I don't know if it requires that, but I mean, you can. It's a lot easier when you draw it on the ground with chalk because there's just so many different names. So like making a circle for every single hour and day and season,
Yeah.
on a tarp, yeah, that'd be kind of difficult. But there's ways you could go about it. You could make the three concentric circles that are blank, and then you could write your own little pieces that you could put in there. Like that's what Father Ashton Kassan does. Is he has like little pieces that he wrote certain names on, and he'll put those in the circle just
Oh,
to
okay.
replace them when needed. So there's little creative ways to go about it. But yeah, drawing it on the ground for sure is probably what they were expecting.
Yeah. Jester says, imagine how much preparation these magicians of the past had to do. Yes, they definitely lived in a different time and didn't have all of the both distractions and responsibilities that we would have today. And so they had a lot more time back then. So yeah, they were the prep work for a lot of the stuff in Grimtrad can be quite daunting.
Yeah. And to be honest, like it seems like a lot that goes within the circle, but if you know the exact hour and the day and the season that you're working in, there's tables in here that you're able just to kind of look those up and look at the order in which all the names are put into circles, and you just got to kind of focus in on it, and it's not actually that hard. It's just plugging in from lists.
Yep. And yes, as church, Quinn does have the Peterson book. I was reading from the Peterson book as well, but since I have the PDF, some things I guess got jumbled up. And so where there should be English, there's a lot of Latin on my side of the PDF. But I have four different versions of the Heptameron, so I just pulled up another version. And I also have the version contained in Lysiewski's Ceremonial Magic and the Power of Evocation, but I don't feel like reading. The plan was to be able to put it on screen, but that didn't work out. But yes, we both have the Peterson version. He has the physical, I have the PDF, but my PDF is mostly Latin for some reason, so we're reading from a different version, or I am reading from a different version. All right. Should we go over the names? Did you want to read the names or?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just read the beginning of it, the concerning the names of the hours and the angels that preside over them.
Okay.
It should be known that the angels preside over the heavens and planets according to a successive order, and they also preside over each hour. Indeed, the spirit which presides over the day also presides over the first hour of the day. The second planet after this presides over the second hour, the third over the third, and so on. After the first 7 planets and hours, the sequence repeats with the first that presides over that day. We will begin, therefore, by declaring the names of the hours. Now, this is not the modern astrological planetary hours that you would see on an app. These are the planetary hours of the Middle Ages, to where the day begins at sunrise. So
Yep.
the first hour of sunrise is the first hour of the day. And yes, so you have 12 hours of the day, and then 12 hours of the night. And each of these in other books are said to be beneficial for certain intentions. Of course, it's pretty obvious that the third hour, like the third hour of Mars on Tuesday, which would be at like 3 a.m. somewhere around there, that's probably when you would want to do your most baneful work, or or say like conjure spirits and things like that, depending on what you're reading. But yeah, it's one of those things, like the planetary hours. You're gonna have 3 of them. You're gonna have one in the morning, one towards around. Oh no, one in the morning. There's 4 of them. It'd be in the morning, one around noon, afternoon, one towards like around like 8 or 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and then another one like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., somewhere around there. That's usually where they land within that wheelhouse. And so you have those times. So if you want to consecrate something in the day of Mercury and the hour of Mercury, you have four chances on that day. But then, of course, those hours repeat throughout other days as well. So, those can also be used. It's up to you, and it's good to experiment, of course. But then there's also like certain implements that you find in the Key of Solomon, like the white hilted knife, like, consecrate this on the hour of this planet, but the day of this planet. So it will change up a little bit, kind of mixing in different qualities. So it does get a little bit more complicated, but yeah, that is the hours right there.
All right. I'll go ahead and take the seasons. So it's continuing down here, where I have it highlighted right here. It says, "Of the names of the angels and their sigils, it shall be spoken in their proper places. Now let us take a view of the names of the times. A year, therefore, is fourfold, and is divided into the spring, summer, harvest, or fall, and winter. And the names whereof are these." So the being that rules over spring, some would call it an angel, but that's a sanitized form. The being that rules over spring would be the being Talvi, or the spirit Talvi. The being that rules over summer is Kasmaran. The spirit that rules over autumn or fall is Adariel. And the being that rules over winter is Farlas. Now, there are also beings under those beings, as we know that they are hierarchical. So under the angel, or under the spirit, the ruler of spring, under Talvi, is Karatasa, Kore, or Kori, or Kor, I don't know how that's pronounced, Amatiel, and Komisaros. And under well, I guess I could go over these. The head of the spring sign is Spugliguel. It's a weird name. And the name of Earth in spring is Amadai. And then the names of the sun and the moon in spring are Abraham and Agusida. And then for the beings, or it says angels, but for the beings of summer, under Casamaran is Gargatel, Tariel, and Gaviel. Now, the head of the sign of summer is Tubiel, and the name of the earth in summer is Festativi. And the name of the sun and the moon during the summer is Athame and Armatus. And under the being of autumn, which is Adarael, we have Tarquam and Gaburiel. And the head of the sign of autumn is Tarkaret. The name of the earth in autumn is Rabinara or Rabianara. The name of the sun and moon in autumn, the sun is Abaragini. The moon is Matasignes. And under Farlas, the being who rules over winter, we have Amabael and Ktarari. The head of the sign of winter is Altarib. The name of the earth during winter is Jeremiah. And the name of the sun and the moon in winter is Kamutaf and Afatarim. Also, where are these names taken from? So these names are taken from several sources. They're taken from texts like the De Quatuor Annalise, Astromagia, the Elucidation of Necromancy, which we're technically reading from, or at least Quinn is. I'm reading from a different version, although I do have it over here on this PDF. That's this right here, but we're not reading from that one. I'm reading from this one. And the Sworn Book of Honorius, the Sefer Raziel, the Key of Solomon, and the Liber Semiphoros, Gubians. So I hope that answers your question. Those are the influences on the Heptameron. That's where the spirits are taken from.
Yeah. And as to where those came from, like origin, who knows? They might be corruptions of some other name that describes, transcripted. They could be something that they received through spirit interaction themselves. Like I've gone down a deep, rabbit hole trying to figure out connections to some of these names. There never is really any type of real origin or connection to a lot of these names. So it's just kind of one of those lost occult things that you're like, okay, yeah, I mean, Spoogliguel, we're never gonna know where that came from. Like, it is what it is. But what we just read here between the hours and these names, those are the names, other than like the archangelic sigil and name. Those are the names that are going within the circle. So you have it all right here. I actually have a notebook where I wrote everything down in tables.
Okay.
So it's a lot easier to like plug and play. Like, oh, I need it at this hour. This is the angel for this hour, name for this hour, name for the season and the moon, the sun, and all of that.
Yeah, that's
Don't
cool.
worry. It gets even more complicated when it comes down to calling certain angels at certain times in different quarters. There's another table for that as well. I don't know if it's in the Heptameron. It might be in the elucidation and necromancy, but the manuscripts that are a part of this lineage, they get even more complicated and more just intricate with what is plugged into the whole ritual. So this is actually the least of it.
Yeah. And thank you guys for the 6.4K likes. That was quick. I did not expect that. Appreciate the love. I'm glad you guys are enjoying this. So yes, thank you guys. All right. Are there any questions on your side?
Nah, I'm ghost town over here, baby.
All right. Let's go ahead and continue. Did you want to go ahead and go over the consecrations, the benedictions? Maybe you could read through the exorcism of the fire, and then after that, I'll take it. I'll go from the garment to the oration and the manner of working.
Yes. Consecration, concerning consecration's blessings, the first blessing of the circle.
Yep.
All right. And then you're going to take it where? The exorcism of fire?
No, you can read those three. So you can read the consecration, the benediction of the perfumes, and the exorcism of the fire. And I'll take the three after that: the garment and the pentacle, the oration, and the manner of working. Or at least that's what it's called in this version. Here, let me see what it's called in the. Well, it's in Latin on my side. So my side says di vesti and pentaculo and all that. So.
Okay. Do you have a word to where it says concerning the method of operation?
Yeah, I would say that would be my version of the manner of working. So
Okay.
that's going to be
I'll
the
just
one
take
that,
it all the
that
way
I'm
to
going to
that.
stop.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and take it all the way to that one.
Oh, okay.
Because they seem about the same size.
Okay.
So, after the circle has been duly completed, sprinkle it with the holy or purificatory water, and say, "Sprinkle me with hyssop, O Lord, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow." I believe that's Psalm 51.
Yerp.
I personally have a different verbiage. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean, O Lord. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Yeah, it's pretty much a good thing that you could say for all consecrations and
Yes.
sprinkling of all things. For the space, for any type of tools and implements, that is the sprinkling of the holy water.
Oh,
And the
Quinn.
psalm that you say.
Sorry to cut you off. People might be having issues connecting to your side. Someone just came in my chat. Salt says I can't connect to Quinn's half of the live. I think TikTok may have glitched.
Here, let me see what I could do.
I'm sorry
Let me,
about that, Salt.
Let me exit and rejoin.
Okay. All right, we'll give him some time to maybe fix that. All right. Thank you guys for being here. Hope you guys are enjoying our Grimoire series as we dive into some actual grimoires now that we're out of the 3 books. Thank goodness. It shouldn't take us a year any longer. We should be done these actual grimoires in literally like a month, if not 2. Oh, he's back. Let's see. He's back.
Let's see if that works.
All right.
Probably
Hopefully,
because I
yeah.
had
Hopefully
someone
that'll
on
get.
saying racist
get
stuff
you right.
earlier, and I reported them, and that probably fucked me up. I don't know.
Oh man, that sucks. Thanks for letting us know, Salt. Hopefully that'll.
There we go.
Fix.
Thanks, Salt. Okay. So yeah, sprinkle me with hyssop, or purge me with hyssop, O Lord, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. That is a very traditional psalm for cleansing things with sprinkling of water. There's a lot of different ways that you can bless water, and holy water, blessed water, isn't exclusive to Catholicism or Christianity. You're going to find blessed water throughout all different types of traditions.
Yep.
So you can be whatever you want to be. You don't have to believe in any type of God. You can still use that psalm and still use blessed water and be able to achieve consecration. But
Agreed.
well, let's call that blessing, because that's blessing with water, because it's part of the consecration with the blessing of water, because you still need to fumigate. Anyways, on from there we go into the blessing of incenses. O God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, bless these creatures of fragrance, so that they may increase the power and virtue their sense, so that no enemy or phantasm may be able to enter into them, through our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Then sprinkle them with holy water. Me personally, when I like to gather together all my incense, if it sticks, I'll take all of them out, or if it's a certain blend of incense, I'll have it in a jar, and I will say that over the incense, and I will sprinkle it with a little bit of holy water, either with the aspergillum or a little pinch of sprinkle from my fingers. You can also, if you wanted to, you're going to see through the other exorcistic orations, you could take these and plug and play. So, for instance, if you say, "Oh God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, bless these creatures of fragrance," you could take out fragrance and you could put, "Bless these creatures of metal, bless these
Yeah.
creatures of parchment, bless these creatures
Write
of
that down,
whatever."
guys.
And that's just so these are very malleable. You could form these into however you want, and that's kind of what I do. So then you have the exorcism of fire, on which incenses are placed. The fire where the suffumigations are made should be placed in a new earthenware or earthen vessel. Moreover, it should be exercised in this way. So it's talking about like a clay pot.
Yep.
I exercise you, a creature of fire, by him through whom all things have been made, so that every kind of phantasm may retire from thee, and be unable to harm or deceive in any way. And then say, "Blessed, O Lord, this creature of fire, and sanctify it, that having been blessed, it will be a high praise of your holy name, so that no harm may come from carrying it or seeing it, through our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen." So that is actually split right there. It has a, "I exercise you, a creature of fire, by him through whom all things have been made, so that every kind of phantasm may retire from thee, being able to harm or deceive in any way." That it kind of says a little different in mine, but I'm actually reciting the one from the Key of Solomon because I've memorized it. And then it's split by "then say this." So what this right here is like, so why is it split? What do you mean "then say"? What are you doing in the middle? It might be to where you're actually exercising the flame in the candle, and then you pick up the coal, and then you exercise the coal. To be honest with you, I just use the first part for all of my exercising of candle flame. And it to me it works fine. There's really no way to say it doesn't work. I have heard by other magicians that say it keeps from phantasms being able to appear in shadows through the candle flame, so you see things creep in shadows. But it's kind of one of those things of just keeping everything sacred. So if when you start with a sacred flame and all of your incense is burned on it and all the smoke comes from it, and you're looking to offer it, it's all coming from a sanctified source. So next we go into
commentary.
I'm sorry?
Oh no, I was just saying that was some good commentary.
Oh, thank you. So then, before we go to where you're at with the method of operation, lastly is the concerning the vestment and pentacle. The vestment should be that of a priest, if possible. If that is not possible, it should be made of linen and clean. Then have the following pentacle made on the day and hour of Mercury, at a time when the moon is waxing, on a sheet of parchment made from the skin of a young goat. And that is, of course, vellum. And you will... Yeah, it's quite easy to find vellum and parchment on Etsy. You can find it from Aaron Leach on his Doc Solomon's, but it's a little expensive. But I actually get my vellum off of Etsy by some guy who specializes in medieval quills and things like that.
Nice.
So so it should be in the day and hour of Mercury, when the moon is waxing, on a sheet of parchment made from a skin of a young goat. But previously, a mass of the Holy Spirit should be set over it and should be sprinkled with baptismal water. So this is the hexagram that you see on the that is covered by linen and revealed to the Spirit. And this is also very popular in the Ars Goetia. The Ars Goetia, I can't remember it actually giving a consecratory ritual for it. So this one, you could always use this. That's why the Heptameron is very important for learning certain consecration methods for things, because there's other grimoires that won't give you it. But to be honest with you, for mine, I didn't do the Mass of the Holy Ghost. I just consecrated it and blessed it with holy water. The whole Mass of the Holy Ghost, I did not do over it, and to me, it worked out. It's fine. It works well. But yes, the Mass of the Holy Spirit or Holy Ghost. If you don't know what that is, it's a very, very lengthy Mass that you kind of got to boil down into something that you could recite as a solitary practitioner, because it takes multiple priests that during the Mass, and there's back and forth between the priests and that are being ordained and those who are doing the ordination. I don't know if that's the right verbiage, but it's quite a lengthy ceremony. So the prayer to be said while putting on the vestment, and this is putting on everything that you are from the linen robe to the pentacle, and whatever you are wearing. Encore, Amacor, Amides, Theodonius, Onitor. Through the merits of your holy angels, O Lord, I will put on the vestments of salvation, that what I desire I will be able to bring about through you, O most holy Adonai, whose power and authority endures for all the ages. Amen. You are going to find this same type of oration in different grimoires with different verbiage. But the names pretty much stay the same. The Encore, Amacor, Amides, Theodonius, Onitor. But like the one I use from the Ars Goetia is through the mystery of these holy vestures or vestments, and through the salvation and the armor of God, and it's a little bit more to it. This one's a little bit more simple. But yeah, the names pretty much stay the same. And when do you put these on? I figure out what feels good to you. Like, I've held up my vestments and said it. I've put on my vestments while saying it. With the Ars Goetia, you have multiple, you have the belt, you have a crown, you have all different types of things. I kind of like to say piece by piece as I'm putting things on. Like Encore, I put on my robe. Almacor, I put one thing on, and then I put my ring on with another name. I kind of get, a little experiment. I experiment with it. But it's up to you just to kind of see how it feels.
Well said. All right, before I start my reading here, Eal says a similar exorcism as drawing spirits into crystals from Trithemius. Yeah, I mean, this relates to my lecture that I did on practical grimoire magic and my belief in plug and play, right? The similarities from grimoires that are from different centuries. And while they might be from the same region of the world, they're generally not related other than provenance. And, so the fact that a lot of these things are similar, is background for my belief in the plug and play aspect of it. Let's see. So you guys use all of these proper items. You don't substitute. Well, I don't work the Heptameron. This is not this is not a grimoire that I work. My main grimoire is the Black Dragon. That's my main working grimoire. And with that, the only thing I substitute is omit, because it's not needed. It's only needed for one purpose, and I don't do that, so that's not needed, is the Ritual Stang. Outside of that, I have all the rest of the traditional items in the Black Dragon. But the Heptameron, I do not work, so I don't have most of these. Like, I don't have any garments or anything like that. Yeah. Quinn, do you work this grimoire? Sounds like you do, but...
Yeah, I've worked it. If you work the Ars Goetia, you pretty much work the Heptameron. It's pretty much the same thing. It's just kind of added on to. My robe is linen. My hexagram of Solomon is on vellum or kid skin parchment, which is young goat.
Yeah.
Parchment. And yes, though those for sure are what are prescribed, but as in substitutions, yeah, of course, there are times where I do substitute, and especially when it involves life fluid of living creatures and things like that, I figure out ways to go around that.
Hmm.
And other things like the lion skin belt in Ars Goetia, I was able to get heart skin from people who make the skins for drums. So there's a lot of different things you can do and a lot of different ways to go about it. It takes a fair amount of research into other grimoires to find out what you can go about. So you're not just plugging and playing. You're doing that, but you're doing it in a very appropriate way. You're doing it in a very thought out way, to where it's not just going willy nilly about things and there's a reason for everything.
Well said. Exactly. Exactly. Hey, what's up, Sybil? Welcome. Hope you're doing well. No, not a goat. Yeah. There are animals sometimes that are needed. Not all grimoires, but sometimes animal skin parchment is a necessary thing. Now, there are ways that you can substitute that. I know Jake Stratton Kent goes over a method of substitution in his True Grimoire, because I know that requires a similar thing, you know. But
Real quick, I know exactly what you're talking about. He actually reenacts the whole thing of making parchment out of actual skin, but he takes the actual parchment that's already done and he just reenacts over it as
yeah,
if he is curing the skin.
yeah.
So he'll cover it in salt. He'll leave it out. He'll do all that stuff as if he was actually making it. I thought that was a really cool way to go about it.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, you can substitute, if you understand correspondences and can get creative. But yeah, sometimes those types of things are necessary. What's up, Periphery? What's going on? I'm sitting here making my own ritual for something while listening. Well, good luck. Good luck with the creation of your ritual, and I hope that whatever you desire manifests. All right.
And one thing real quick to add on about parchment.
Mm-hmm.
There is plant-based parchment that you get. I forget what it's called, but it's parchment that's made in the Himalayas or something like that. It's very soft and it's hard to draw on, but it's all handmade from plant material. You could use that because the whole thing of the young goat skin, it's virgin,
Yeah.
so it's pure, and it's unadulterated. And so there are other things you could use. Papyrus. I think papyrus would work well too. And I wouldn't be against that. So there are for sure different routes to take.
Agreed. All right. Put that back over there, like that. All right. So we're moving into of the manner of working, or as it says in my version of Joe Peterson's "de modo operationis," but of the manner of working. Let the moon be increasing or waxing and equal, if it may then be done, and let her not be combust. The operator ought to be clean and purified by the space of 9 days before the beginning of the work, and to be confessed and receive the Holy Communion. There's a lot of requirements in the text, along with the tools. That was a big reason why I did not get involved with texts like the Heptameron for actual practice. I got into grimoire work in my early 20s when I was not making good money at all. I did not have a career or anything like I do now in my early 30s. I was not able to just go out and afford a lot of the things that I can do now. So the Black Dragon was the most practical that I could find, super lax on its requirements, and also seems to offer plug and play. And then also I wasn't able to go to any sort of church and do any of this stuff because back then I didn't really know anything about substitution and all that good stuff. So I would have had to follow it by the letter, and I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of this. So just throwing that caveat in there. Continuing, let him have ready the perfume appropriated to the day wherein he would perform the work. He ought also to have holy water from a priest, and a new earthen vessel with fire, a vesture and a pentacle, and let all these things be rightly and duly consecrated and prepared. Right? So essentially everything that we just went over, well, that Quinn just went over, it's putting it into order now. I mean, it was kind of already provided in order, but it's putting it into order now for what you would actually start doing. So continuing with the instructions, it says, let one of the servants carry the earthen vessel full of fire, right? So this assumes that you're going to have assistants or apprentices or other magicians with you, right? This is why the Black Dragon states that any number of people may assemble the circle, but depending on what's happening, only the magician should be standing within the circle, and the spirit should be constrained to the triangle. This is sort of a carry on of that. And the perfumes, and let another bear the book, another the garment, and the pentacle, and let the master carry the sword, over which there must be said one mass of the Holy Ghost, and on the middle of the sword let there be written this name, Agla. And let me give you guys a little more zoom there. Come on. There. Let's turn it that way. Okay. Let there be written this name, Agla, and then a cross. So that's not a plus for those who thought that was like a plus, like there's another name or something coming after it. There probably is another name coming after it, but it's not a plus sign. It is a cross. I don't want people thinking that that's just a plus sign. They're not doing math. It's a cross. And on the other side thereof, this name. So there's another cross, and then on, and then another cross. So the name on, or on, and then a cross. And as he goeth to the consecrated place, or the ritual chamber, or wherever he's going to be doing the ritual that's been pre-consecrated beforehand, let him continually read, it says litanies, but litanies, the servants answering. And when he cometh to the place where he will erect the circle, let him draw the lines of the circle as we have before taught. And after he hath made it, let him sprinkle the circle with holy water, saying, Asperge me Domine, etc., etc. The master ought to be purified with fasting, chastity, and abstinency from all luxury the space of 3 whole days before the day of the operation. So 3 days before the operation, you gotta fast. You can't, have any carnal, relations, and you should abstain from, things that you enjoy doing and that people in general would probably enjoy doing. Abstain from those things. It's Lent for 3 days on everything. And on the day that he would do the work, being clothed with pure garments and furnished with the pentacles, perfumes, or the incense, and other necessary hereunto, and other things necessary hereunto, let him enter the circle and call the angels from the 4 parts of the world, or the 4 quarters, the 4 corners, whatever, which do govern the 7 planets. Hold on, I got to do the puzzle thingy here, the verification. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Which do govern the 7 planets and the 7 days of the week, colors and metals, whose names you shall see in their places. And with bended knees, invocating the said angels, particularly let him say, O angels, supradicti est toe adjortue mea petioni, in adjorturum mihi in mias rebus e petunibus. Then let him call the angels from the 4 parts of the world that rule the air, the same day wherein he doth the work or experiment. And having implored specially all the names, the spirits written in the circle, let him say, O vos omnes, adjuro acti contester per cerdem adone, per hagios oteos, is kairos athanatos, parcelatos, alpha and omega, et per what is that? That's an H or a B? I think that's a H. Hactria nomina secreta. Agla on trachagramaten. Cod hodi debatis ad mempreri cod cupio. These things being performed, let him read the conjuration assigned for the day wherein he maketh the experiments, as we have spoken before. But if they be pertinacious and refractory, and will not yield themselves obedient, neither to the conjuration assigned to the day, nor the prayers before made, then use the conjurations and exorcisms following, right? So similar to what we see in the Goetia, right? This is a common misconception on the Luciferian side of things, the satanic side of things, the demonolatry side of things, wherein on the Grimtrad side of things, we're just forcing these spirits to appear, and we're whipping them in the shape like slaves, where in actuality they have ample opportunity to arrive, right? Numerous conjurations are given before anything like exorcisms or the conjuration of the fire, the spirit chain, whatever, is implemented. And here we see that, right? It literally says these things being performed, right? So all the stuff that we just did, if the spirits will not yield themselves, right here, and will not yield themselves obedient, neither to the conjuration assigned to the day, nor the prayers before made, then you can go ahead and use the following exorcisms and conjurations, right? So again, the plug and play nature that Quinn talked about prior, and that I always talk about when talking about grimoire tradition, the plug and play nature here is, in my opinion, evident. All right. Anything you want to add before we move into the exorcism of the spirits? Well, no, this is all Latin, and this is a lot of Latin, and I don't think we should read that. That's a lot of Latin. But there is an exorcism of the spirit of the air. Is it in Latin on your side, or is it in English?
Oh, it's in English.
Okay. Let me see. Let me check my version here. Yeah, no, even in my Peterson version. Oh, wait, no, wait a second. It is in English over on this one. So here, let me move this one over, and I'll use this one. All right, so on this one, it is in English. So the exorcism of the aerial spirits. There you go. Now you guys should be able to see it all. All right. We being made in the image of God, endowed with power from God, and made according to his will, do exercise you, N, which is the name of the Spirit, by the most mighty and powerful name of God, L, strong and wonderful. And we command you by him who spoke the word, and it was done, and by all the names of God, and by the name Adonai, El, Elohim, Elohi, Zebaoth, Elion, Eskeri, Ia, Tetragrammaton, Sadai. Lord God on high, we exercise you and powerfully command you that you immediately appeared to us here beside this circle in pleasant form, namely that of a human without ugliness or deformity. Before we continue, so someone was asking me about this the other day, about if spirits always appear in some ugly, grotesque, sort of a weird form. And I had mentioned that you can actually request, and usually it's done within the conjuration, but you can request if the spirit does appear in some weird shape that you're afraid of or whatever, it's ugly, whatever, you can request that they appear in more handsome or comely shape. And again, we see that here. And you're very welcome, Isa, but we see that here. Continuing, come all you whom we have named, because we command you by the name Y and V. Is that what yours says, Y and V?
Yeah, I often think it actually is supposed to be Yod and Vav.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. But
they had a weird thing back in the Renaissance Middle Ages where they really didn't understand Hebrew, and they tend to think that all Hebrew names, no matter what it is, was a divine name, and that
ah,
included names of letters.
okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. All right. Which Adam heard and spoke, and by the name of God, Agla, which Lot heard and was saved with all his family, and by the name Eoth, which Jacob heard from the angel wrestling with him, and was delivered from the hand of his brother Esau, and by the name Anaphaxiton, which Aaron heard and spoke, and was made wise, and by the name Zebaoth, which Moses named, and all the rivers and swamps in the land of Egypt turned to blood, and by the name Eskerehi Oriston, that he named all the rivers in the land of Egypt, produced frogs in abundance, which climbed into the houses of the Egyptians, destroying everything, and by the name Elion, which Moses named, and there was great hail, such as had not been since the beginning of the world, and by the name Adonai, which Moses named, and locusts appeared upon the whole land of Egypt, and devoured all that the hail had left. And by the well, I guess you would cross yourself here. And by the name Schems Amathia, which Joshua named, and the sun stayed its course. And by the name Alpha and Omega, which Daniel named. Uh, I don't know if this is in yours, but it starts getting into Latin in mine now. It stops in English and moves into Latin.
That's, so what it seems like yours is going page by page because it seems like it was like automatically transferred from the book onto there. So if
Ah,
I was to flip the page, it would go into Latin because the page the Latin is on the opposite side from the English.
I see. Okay, okay. So then it probably continues here then. Uh, well, no, because there's a lot of names that I. Okay, no, I see it. I see it. I see it. Okay, I see what you're saying. All right, so then it does start here. And destroyed Bel and slayed the dragon, and in the name Emmanuel, which the three children, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, sang in the fiery furnace and were freed, and by the name Agios, and by the seat of Adonai, and by Othios, and Ischyros, and Athanatos, Paracletus, and by these three secret names, Agla, On, Tetragrammaton, I charge and call you forth by these names and by all the names of our Lord and Almighty God, living and true, who found fault with you and expelled you from heaven and into the infernal realm. And we exercise and powerfully command you by him who spoke and everything was done, to whom all creatures are obedient. And by that dreadful day of God's judgment, and by the unseen sea of glass, which is before the sight of the divine majesty, and by the four divine animals, uh, T, I'm guessing that's tetragrammaton, or what is T? Tau? What is T?
I'm thinking it's supposed to be like Tav.
Okay. Who have eyes before and behind, walking before the seat of the divine majesty, and by the fire encircling his throne, and by the holy angels of the heavens, Tav, and by that which is named in the church of God, and by the highest wisdom and almighty God, Jesus Christ, we do powerfully exercise you, that you appear to us here before the circle to fulfill our will in all things that will please us, and by the baldachin seat, and by his name Priminuton, which Moses named, and the hollows of the abyss swallowed up, Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, and in the power of that name, Primumaton, commanding the whole host of heaven, we will curse you and deprive you of all your duties, position, and joy into the depths of the abyss, and there to remain until the day of final judgment. And we will banish you into the eternal fire and into the lake of fire and brimstone, unless you immediately appear here in our presence before this circle, to do our will in all things. By these names, Adonai, Zebaoth, Adonai, Anora. Come, come, he commands you, Adonai, Sadeh, most powerful King of kings, and most terrible, whose power no creature is able to resist. This suffering awaits you unless you obey and appear immediately before the circle. Affable, lest doleful ruin and the misery and unquenchable fire await you forever. Come, therefore, in the name of Adonai, Zebaoth, Adonai, Anora. Come, come, why do you delay? Hasten, he commands you, Adonai, Sadeh, King of kings, El, Ati, Titip, Azia, Hin, Ian, Minisel, Akadon, Ve, Ba'a, I, Ha'a, I, X, A, L, A, He, How, Va. And there we go.
Yeah. So, did you have any commentary on that before
Yeah.
I give my sense?
Yeah. So continuing with the I don't want to call this plug and play, but continuing with the borrowed nature that we find in the grimoires, you may find a lot of these similar conjurations in modern grimoires, right? I know a very popular modern grimoire right now, or not right now, but over the last 30 years, is the New Avatar Power by Jeff Gray Cobb, and also his mighty grimoire of mystic spells and rituals, or something like that. And if you happen to have a copy of those, I have a physical copy of the New Avatar Power, but only a PDF of the second one. These conjurations are used specifically. Let me pull up the version I was using. Specifically, the parts where it says things like it was before the Latin. Let me go back up here. Where it was saying things like, and by the name Anaphactitone, which Aaron heard and spoke. I think that is specifically in the Nikita ritual, but I could be wrong there, but I think that's in the Nikita money ritual. Which was where was another one? Agla, which Lot heard and was saved along with his family. Things like that are used quite extensively in other modern day grimoires, both to give it that legitimacy, I guess, but also to give it that authentic feel, right? There's a lot of nonsense out there, such as the Book of Smokeless Fire, but because they might take conjurations or ritual instructions from legitimate texts, people get confused, especially if you don't have a thorough foundation in Western occultism or grimoire tradition. You may be easily tricked. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say for this part.
So yeah, it mostly with the second one after this, it will kind of go into what I'm about to say. So first of all, you might notice how it's very exorcistic. Glitch Bottle just put out a episode talking about Catholic exorcism and how a lot of this conjurations we read in these grimoires came from that. And some of the examples that he gives in this episode are almost verbatim for what we see here. So there is a direct line from these conjurations going into old school Catholic exorcisms. And he also talks about how, like, not even just the grimoires were calling upon Beelzebub to exorcise demons underneath their, by their power. The exorcistic priests were also calling upon the kings of hell to help them exorcise these evil spirits from victims. And so, like, for instance, in these exorcisms, you'll see the baldachin seat, and then the next one you'll see Genio Liacide, Apologia of the Ninth Court, like Apologia seats, baldachin, Palmachia. These are all things that you will see in old Catholic exorcisms as well. So they have survived within the grimoires. Another thing to put out here is that this conjuration that we just read, the exorcism of the aerial spirits, is also the second conjuration within the Ars Goetia. A few words are kind of switched around here and there, but you will find this in the Ars Goetia. I believe the next conjuration within here that we would be reading next is actually the first conjuration of the Ars Goetia. So this is why I'm always talking about the Heptameron when I'm talking about the Goetias, because they obviously pretty much took verbatim the conjuration formulas from the Heptameron. That's why this book is so foundational for medieval and Renaissance magic.
Agreed. Question. It is 11:30. Did you want to do what we normally do and do a half hour of Q&A, or do you want to continue reading? I don't mind either way.
We could go ahead and there's not too much left in here, so why don't we save some for next time?
Okay.
I'm going back to my normal schedule this coming week, so I mean we could just continue not far from today. Like if you want to continue reading it on Tuesday again.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
We can pick her back up Tuesday. So we'll pick her up right here, I guess, at the visions and the apparitions.
There's still the prayer to God towards the four parts of the world.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry guys, I skipped this part right here. Sorry, skip that part right there. Yes, so the prayer to God, which must be said towards the four parts of the world from within the circle. Okay, so next week we will start on this here. So I will keep this up. I won't X out of that. I'll just keep that up. I'll close out of this one though. Now that I know how to read the elucidation properly, I always thought that was weird. I never took the time to sit down and like, okay, what's up there? So thank you for pointing that out.
I gotta say, your Latin's pretty good, man. Would you did you go to school for it?
Yeah, I actually did take Latin. And what's funny is that I took both French and Latin, and my Latin teacher was my French teacher, so I got along with her very well and things like that. But yeah, I did take Latin.
Yeah, I was listening to you. I was like, "Holy shit, man!" Fucking.
Thank you. I've never been able to use it because I don't use it in my regular practice. So it's cool to be able to like actually say things out loud, because normally I'm just reading in my head. So, but all right. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and finish out the reading for tonight, and we're going to do a bit of a Q&A. So if you guys do have any questions, let me flip my camera back. If you guys do have any questions, please do feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Issa, for your moderation services. As always, mucho apreciado. She's laughing at you, at my Latin. Thank you. And I read it in an Italian accent since, you know, it was mostly done in Rome, so I figure that would probably be the best accent to read it in. And that's kind of how I mean, she didn't really put an accent on us, but that just felt the most natural. What's up, corporate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how it's usually spoken, other than ecclesiastical Latin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is really good though, just very tongue twisty. Haha. Yes, yeah, Latin is very tongue twisty. But once you get used to like how the words are like set up and the conjugation, because there is some conjugation in Latin. Once you get all like how that's done, it becomes, you know, relatively simple. At least to read it. You might not be able to translate it so well, but at least to like read it and pronounce things, it becomes pretty simple. Oh wow, she's got a new book. Nice.
Thank you for the rose, Jess. Yeah, reading the Heptameron, he just came at the last moment. Yeah, we'll be continuing to read it Tuesday. There's not so much to read with the Heptameron. If you know, it's a pretty short grimoire, so we'll most likely be able to finish it Tuesday or even the next one. But there's so much. It's so jam packed full of very practical things when it comes to Grimoire magic, and so much to explain. That there's for sure quite a bit of commentary that we could offer to it.
Agreed. And as I was saying earlier, before we all got on, we should be able to get through a lot of these grimoires within a month, maybe two. And then we should be able to move into the next one. So that can also be beneficial for you guys. So is Solomonic magic nothing to do with commanding and enslaving the demons? I mean, you can certainly take that approach, but the way the demonolators or the Satanists or the Luciferians make it sound is that that is the purpose. Like, if you were to open the Goetia, there is no opportunity for the demon or the spirit, whatever you want to come of their own accord when called. It's an immediate enslavement. It's an immediate punishment. We're immediately doing the spirit chain. We're immediately doing the conjuration of the fire. And that's not true. I believe in the Goetia, you get 3 chances, right? There's, much like and I'm not saying, spirits are children, but much like how a lot of parents might give their kids, like, if I call your name 3 times and you don't come downstairs or whatever, you're going to get in trouble, whatever. Something like that. That's what my parents always did. Yeah, you can certainly take that approach if you want. I don't recommend that approach. I used to kind of I didn't take the enslavement approach. I took the mercenarial approach, where I didn't enslave you, but I also didn't actively try to build a relationship. I was just kind of in the middle. Whereas if you take the enslavement route, there's a good chance that those spirits are not going to willingly work with you. So if you ever change, like if you get wiser and older and stuff like that, and you decide to abandon that, those spirits may not be willing to work with you. So there's that to factor in. Not sure if you want to add anything to that, Quinn.
So that the time that where a lot of these grimoires were being, penned was during a time where, of course, Christianity was a dominant religion, and demons were seen as bad. And I mean, demons have always been around even before Christianity. There's always evil spirits, but it was kind of this thing that was even more, put under the microscope. Like these are evil spirits, and we need to use God and angels to show them that we are not to be messed with when we conjure them, and they should do our bidding. But as for the enslaving part, these aren't spirits that are being enslaved. That is part of just the mythos behind Solomonic magic. We're conjuring spirits, and we're binding them to pacts and petitions. They are not the only ones that are bound to the pacts. We as well are bound to the pacts with offerings and promises. And it's more of a binding as a legal jargon, like you are bound to a contract through a signature. You can bind them to vessels. You can bind spirits to objects, but you mostly do that more with problematic spirits in haunted houses and things like that, or that are causing problems to people. That is more so when you actually trap spirits, but we're not trapping spirits here. So the whole enslaving thing is just part of the mythos to Solomonic magic. Solomonic magic is Greco-Roman, Greco-Egyptian, Byzantine and Jewish and Alexandrian magic that is set to a Solomonic mythos as the background. I do want to say, like, for an analogy, you could go to a nice authentic ramen place and get a nice bowl of ramen, right? And then you could go to the store and get top ramen, right? And the top ramen does not look like that at all, but it is within that realm of ramen. And so that's how I look at Solomonic magic and the lore behind it. It is within that realm. It has that essence of conjuring spirits and petitioning to do things like the mythos of King Solomon, but it is not exactly what King Solomon was doing in the Testament of Solomon. So there's the fantastical part, and then the reality to it.
I hope that both those perspectives offers you some insight, Jester. Hope hope that offers you some insight. Makes sense. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Excuse me. Oh, did you hear that David Rankine is now the editor, like the editor in chief or the chief editor over at Hadean?
Yes, yes, yes. I actually saw that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, yep. I got it in email. It said it was like an announcement email, a few other things. It was like, oh, and by the way, also David Rankine is now our editor. I mean, when you deliver something as monumental as the Grimoire Encyclopedia, like you're able to, preside over that and deliver, and it's fucking fantastic. Provides a lot of insight to a lot of well-known texts and a lot of lesser-known texts. What do you expect? I mean, it would be no different than if like Scarlet Imprint made Jake Stratton, if he was still around, gave such an honor to Jake Stratton Kent. I mean, he gave them a J.O. Sophia, so
Yeah, he gave them the whole Red series, from the True Grimoire to the Testament of Saint Cyprian and Geo Sophia. So, but
oh
yeah,
yeah,
it's
the
for
Goetic
sure.
Encyclopedia, yeah.
It's for sure. Yeah, I'm not surprised by it. I'm looking forward to his new book coming out as well, on the planetary magic, that he's been talking about. So that's I'm really excited for that one as well. I'm excited for a few things. I'm also excited for Matthew Venus's Ensouling the Effigy.
Oh yes, yes.
Super stoked on that. It's going to be about probably a year before it comes out, but that's going to be a game changer for spirit workers. But yeah, I do have Strange Girl Bone Collector was talking about the Abramelin, and she's obsessed with it. Saw a video where a girl was saying the shorter version is in the Order of the Golden Dawn. I don't know exactly what you're talking about. A shorter version of the Abramelin and the Golden Dawn. I do know that my temple that I was a part of, they tried to implement guardian angel work during your a certain grade, because usually a grade lasts, like your neophyte grade usually lasts for about 6 months, as long as the Mathers version of the Abramelin says. So they would try to like kind of implement HGA meditations into it and try so that you like would possibly receive knowledge and conversation with your holy guardian angel by the time you reach Zelator, which was very like, I'm sure some people said that they did, but I highly doubt it, because it wasn't as intense as your authentic Abramelin process.
Excellent.
The Bornless ritual. Do you think it said so? The Bornless ritual. So okay, what you're thinking about is the OTO, or it might be Thelema. Either one of those Crowley, Crowley-esque thing. Not OTO is beyond Crowley, but so yeah, the headless rite or the Bornless ritual is Libra Samek, is what you're thinking about. Is where you're performing the headless rite consecutively as a part of the prayers that you would do in the Abramelin. So it's a different type of attainment of knowledge and conversation with your holy guardian angel, but not the Abramelin route. It's still a long, drawn out marathon like ritual with prayer and prayer and prayer and prayer, but it's just done in a different fashion.
Excellent. Excellent. I just looked up the cover for Matt Venus's Ensouling the Effigy, and He has multiple on the cover here, but he literally has a replica of the one he made for me,
Oh yeah.
which is interesting. That's cool. Um, yeah, this is definitely needed because you only see this type of thing in the ATRs. You don't really see it outside of it. Um, yeah, I think this is an important work. Um, so with Solomonic magic, if you wanted to curse someone, you would evoke the demon, offer them a petition or a contract where you would bind them to the contract and or petition to make them go and do the curse rather than you doing it. For the most part, you can remove the petition. The petition itself would be the request, not the contract. The petition would be the request itself. But yes, essentially, you would call upon a demon if you so chose that type of being, and you would make an offer to them. I would let based on your abilities of medicines and stuff. I want you to make this person sick or whatever, and in return, I'll offer you public praise. A full bottle of rum and whatever. And through divination or whatever, you would determine if they agree or not, and then go from there. Go from there. But on the flip side, you could also do it yourself if you want to, take like the sorceress approach. Mm. Sounds like something I do already. Oh, well then there you go. There you go.
Yeah, it's a totally different. Like this type of magic is totally different from what you would see with spell work. You can do that, and it's always like a really powerful magic is when you intertwine spellcraft and conjuration. So you would conjure the spirits for these certain type of fetishes or mojo hands or whatever it might be, some type of charm or amulet that to imbue it with the intention of what you want. So you not only are you working a spell, but you're also conjuring the spirits that have to do with the materia that you are using with these spells to help drive it forward. And having the spirits on both the spellcraft and on the materia and in your favor it's a powerful way to work. But of course, it depends on the time. So a lot of the times when I'm working, it's usually just conjuring the spirit and putting forth the petition, putting forth offerings, and that's pretty much it.
There you go. Excellent. All right, guys, we got about 9 more minutes left. If you guys have any final questions, concerns, please put them in the chat. I appreciate everybody being here. I call on spirits for aid in all my rituals. If I'm doing spells, I devote to the spirits and do invocations before even starting the physical ritual. Oh, okay, then yeah, it sounds like you do something similar.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Like if I'm using certain roots, I will always call upon the spirits of the roots. If it's a root to get rid of roadblocks, then you call forth the spirit of that root. Please, get rid of these roadblocks and so forth.
Yep, agreed. Hello, Anna Marie. Welcome in. If this is your first time, glad you are here. It might be. But welcome aboard. But yeah, I wonder what methodologies Matthew Venus is going to put in the text, and I wonder what sources he's going to be using as inspiration. Right? Is he going to be pulling from the ATRs, the ADRs? Is he going to be focused on magic specifically from North America? Is he going to pull from Tradcraft? I do wonder that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about something like that, it's going to be hard to kind of avoid talking about ATRs and ADRs because that's like, I mean, when it comes to ensoling effigies, that's almost like the bread and butter,
Yeah.
you know. But of course, puppets are very much a European thing,
Mm.
um, and going all the way back to like Greco-Rome and things like that. So I know that people always think of voodoo dolls, but that was actually inherited.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that he might have some sources on, ancient European puppet work and things like that. But
That makes
I
sense.
highly doubt he's going to be able to avoid any type of any type of information that might get him in trouble with other people yelling appropriation.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's very careful. I'm sure he's very careful about that. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm sure, and I'm sure his editor, Cross Crow. I don't have any books by them. I'm not familiar with any of their works that I know of anyway. Um, Let me see. Yeah, I don't have any of these. Like even PDFs. Um, yeah, so I'm not. But I mean, these look cool. I mean, whatever. So I'm sure they have a good editor. Yeah, yeah, these look cool. Is this an imprint of Wiser? Because I feel like I've seen some of these on Wiser's website. Yeah, I just saw this on Wiser's website. Yeah, this Jack D. Hawkins book on the elemental spirits I saw, the Witch's Craft I saw. This must be an imprint of Wiser. But either way, how are you? I've been in a couple times. Well, I'm good. Thank you for asking. I hope you're doing well also. And well, welcome back. Welcome back. I hope you are. I hope you have enjoyed what you've seen prior. Unfortunately, you kind of came in during the last few minutes of the stream. We're about to close out here in about 5 minutes. But previous streams that you've been part of, I hope you found them both informative and entertaining.
Wild Horse Circle asks if are you going to check out any of the Salem Witchcraft Fest classes coming up?
Me
Yeah,
or
I think that is that part of the Cauldron Black or
I have no idea. No, I've not even heard of that. But no, I don't. I probably won't ever take any like classes or anything like that, unless it's like I don't know. I wouldn't take any classes like that. If I took a class for like magic, it would probably be like a class like at the University of wherever, and I'm studying ancient Near East religions or something like that with a focus of occultism or something. That would be I don't think I would ever, go to like Treadwell's and take a course or, something like that. And no offense to anybody who does. I've been at this for 22 years and I feel like a lot of those things, a lot of those courses are just rehashes of things that I already know, already read, already have access to. It's just said in that author's own words or that lecturer's own words. And so, yeah.
So yeah, it's thrown by Cauldron Black, and they're actually like one of the few play. So like Dr. Al Cummins has classes through them. Jack
Nice.
Grail has
Nice.
classes through them. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so they're actually pretty like legitimate. They're one of the only sites that I follow for things like that. They're a bit
Nice.
pricey, but just like you, it's hard for me to kind of like put up the cash for a class because I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go in here and be like, I could have figured that out myself. Like,
Yeah.
you get so used in this tradition and in working magic, you get so used to going out and doing the footwork yourself
Yeah.
to where you're like you even stop asking other magicians questions because you're like I'll just figure it out myself.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
And that's what I try to train people to do. And I mean, of course, my channel is mainly for beginners. So I get that, they're not always at that stage yet. But I encourage people doing, the work on their own. Don't go out and pay someone else to do the work for you, blah, blah, blah. Yes, it'll get done sooner if you pay someone to do it for you, but there's no better teacher than experience. And you should get out there, do the work yourself, learn how to figure things out on your own. If something doesn't make sense, learn where to go and find the answer. And, so yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just people are scared when they're initially like first like experimenting, and trying
Yeah.
to learn because it's like they don't want to get haunted by anything. They don't want to have something like creep up on them and tap them on the shoulder at night. It's they get scared like, oh, I'm dealing with spirits and I don't want to do something wrong, and it's
Yeah.
like, sorry, you're gonna do something wrong sooner or later,
Yeah.
and that's how
And
you figure it out.
yeah, and that's really hard for them to drop because like I've been in or I've had like paranormal people come in here, or when I was running the forums, I would have like paranormal people come in, and they would be even to do something like a banishing, like they're telling us that they're haunted, right? Or like, I feel haunted, I feel like when these spiritual things happen in the home, I get touched at night, but by a spirit, not by and all that stuff. And I say, okay, well, if you feel as though you're being haunted, you might want to do like a banishing and a cleansing. Very simple, no summoning of any demons or anything like that. And they're even scared to do that. And it's like, I don't. Oh, and then that's when it comes. Oh, well, can you just do it? And it's like, well, yes, I could, but what if this happens again? What if 2 years later you move into a new home and something happens? What if you have an attachment, right? You should be able to figure these things out on your own and then know where to go and get the answer if you can't. And of course, you're going to have questions and you're going to, want to ask someone more knowledgeable, of course. But also at the same time, there has to come a point where you are like, you know what, let me go and see if I can scour through the grimoires and find whatever I need, or open up this occult encyclopedia and see if there's a reference for this thing here, this herb or whatever that I don't know, whatever. um yeah, you gotta get out there and know how to do it, and also get your hands dirty and do the work, and not be afraid to get burned, not be afraid to make mistakes. You're not going to die, right? I think that's a lot of things. They're going to, the spirits are going to curse you, and you're going to die. You're not going to die. All right. Like, I don't understand. You're not going to die. Your plane's not going to crash. You're not going to, your cruise ship's not going to sink. You don't got to worry about any of that. So
Yeah, Jess Jones. Yeah, she's recommending modern magic to someone on the chat. Modern magic is what it is, modern. But it's a good one. It's a huge beginner book for a lot of people. So
yeah.
if you're beginning, go for it. Korea, I know that's Josephine McCarthy. I'm not too. She's not really my cup of tea. I don't know too much of her material, and the way she kind of operates really just isn't my style. But I've listened to her interviews, and she seems like a lovely person, very intelligent. And the Seven Spheres, I know that Joe worked with the Seven Spheres. I'm not
Mm.
too much into Rufus Opus's stuff, even though he's a great guy. He's a very cheeky and very boisterous personality. But yeah, I don't know much of the Seven Spheres.
Yeah, Seven Spheres is a great little grimoire if you want to learn how to ascend through the spheres. Well, not ascend. I don't want to call it that. That puts the hermetic spin on it. It's teaching you how to initiate into each of the seven spheres in order to integrate those influences in your life, to establish and maintain your kingdom. And you go through each planet to obtain mastery over that area of your life that planet would govern. So, for example, if you want financial mastery over your life, right, Jupiter and would be the best way. If you think you're a punk bitch or whatever, and you gotta learn how to assert and be dominant, stuff like that, Mars would be the one you want to integrate and all that stuff. So It's cool. It's a cool grimoire. I like it. I certainly haven't finished it in the sense of going through all the planets, but it's a it's a great grimoire and it's a lot of work, which is probably why I haven't finished it. Josephine McCarthy's Quaria is pretty cool. I like that it's or was, I don't I'm not a member, but it was free. I have a lot of the material from there that I got through various people sharing it. I have a few of her books. The only thing I would say, I don't like how she teaches tarot or how she introduces tarot. I really don't like that. So I don't recommend her, what's it called? Tarot Skills for the 21st Century book. But everything else by her that I've read is great. And she's also a good friend of Gareth Knight, and I'm a big fan of him for beginners. So if and she's also a friend of R.A. Gilbert too, who I also like, especially if you're into like Freemasonry with a magical bent. I like to share those books by him with conspiracy theorists. But anyway, and I don't remember the first book you said, but yeah.
All right, Gilbert, he does a lot of Golden Dawn stuff too. Some of the best Golden Dawn works that you have, like concerning their history. All right, Gilbert is a part of.
Nice.
He does a lot of good stuff on them.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to check those out. I only have his masonry stuff, and that's fascinating work. And if I just wish every conspiracy theorist would read it, and they would not be saying things like Freemasons run the world and all that other nonsense.
Is Gareth Knight still around? Is he still?
I don't know. Is he? I don't know. Let me
I could have
see.
swore he ended up, passing over.
Let's see. Gareth Knight, British occultist. Yes, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a student of Dion Fortune. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Deciding on their own right. Yep. That is true. At the age of 23. Wow, he started pretty young. All right. Well, it is after midnight over here, guys, and we have reached the end of our stream. So thank you for joining us for our first ever practical grimoire series, where we went through a portion of the Heptameron. Or the magical elements of Peter Abano. We will be picking up next week in a few days, but the prayer to God, which must be said towards the four parts of the world from within the circle. We will be picking up there on Tuesday. So please do join us again Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll be picking up with the Heptameron, and then we should be, in the next few weeks, we should be done moving into another grimoire. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're interested, be sure to check out my Patreon, patreon.com/themysticalrebel. New videos posted weekly, instructional videos posted monthly. Thank you, Quinn, for taking time out of your evening to elucidate on a portion of the Heptameron with us. And thank you for being flexible for pushing the time back. Thank you, Issa, for your moderation services. Thank you guys for your questions, for your participation. Appreciate you all. Anything from you, brother?
No. Super happy to get started on the Heptameron and see what the future holds for us. And yeah, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Not a problem at all. Thank you, everybody, and I will catch you guys in the next one. As always, seek the mysteries. Peace.